Hello and welcome to Friday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And we have a puzzle today with the very rare quality of having a 100% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany. This is another puzzle by Joseph Nehme, who he's been wowing us in recent weeks with just a series of superb Sudoku puzzles. And the testing reports on this one confirm that its 100% rating is completely justified. So we're in for an absolute treat. And I mean, before we start, just look at the structure of this grid. It is so beautiful. It's sort of a Swiss flag in the middle. The sort of almost symmetrically disposed arrows. These arrows are all symmetrically placed, and a 9 in the middle. The puzzle is called Encaged 9, presumably because, look, the 9 has been encaged. So our job is to, fill in more 9s, etc. We'll do that in a minute. Few announcements first. There's some quite big puzzle competitions on the horizon. This weekend, I think, is the first round of the World Sudoku Grand Prix for 2021. I think it's Bulgaria's turn to create the puzzles. So if you're interested in competitive solving, do check that out. I'm sure Google will help you and point you in the direction of the competition. Also, next weekend, it's the German Sudoku qualifier, which I think is hosted on Logic Masters Germany, and that's open internationally, although I don't think international competitors can qualify for the finals in April. But definitely that's going to be worth doing because the puzzle creators are Richard Stolk, Philip Bloomer, who you may know as Glum Hippo from the channel, and also Christoph Seeliger. So a phenomenal lineup of puzzle constructors for next weekend's contest. I definitely recommend that one. Anything else? Yeah, on our own Patreon pages, I know a number of you have been trying the Reverend Puzzle Hunts that we released earlier on in the week. That has been going great guns. But today we put some new content up there. If you enjoy your cryptic crosswords, then you may well enjoy Mark's solve of the Times monthly special for January. I always enjoy that video because you never see a Mark struggle with a cryptic crossword like he struggles on this one. It is always very amusing. And now I should read out the names actually of the new solvers that we've had to Reverend's Puzzle Hunt. Of course, we have had, and well done to Daniel Curtis, Jonathan Lahavre, Lucy Stewart, Peter Zuger. Now, I'm not sure if it's Abdi or Abday, but Abdi or Abday is only 9 years old, and he's been doing it with his father, Moise, so fantastic. And just a quick word to say, I mean, if you do have very clever kids, that is wonderful that they are getting through this hunt. That really is impressive, and I'm sure Abdi will be a very, very good solver in years to come if he's already able to do Reference Puzzle Hunt at the age of 9. Kenny Palmer, Jeffrey Began, and Arpo from Finland. Well done to you guys as well. Fantastic. Now, let's get on to Joseph's rules. What have we got? We've got normal rules by the looks of it. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. In cages, digits must sum to the small clue given in the top left corner of the cage, and digits cannot repeat within a cage. So normal killer Sudoku. The digits in the circles are equal to the sum of the cells along their respective arrows, so normal arrows as well. So do have a go at this. The way to play, of course, is to click the link under the video. With that, I get to play. Let's get cracking. And the first thing that sort of shouts at me in this grid are these arrows, because these circled cells each see the arrows that emanate from them each see 3 cells in a box. So these yellow cells, these can't be the same digit. So the minimum we could put into any of these trios is 1, 2, and 3, which means the circles must be at least equal to 6. So let's put that in. That's a 6, 7, 8, or 9 straight away. Now, none of the killer cages seem to me anyway to be, I was about to say they don't seem to be useful, but actually the 10 cage, the 10 cage isn't in and of itself I don't know what's in this 10 cage, but I do know what's not in the 10 cage. A 10 cage in 3 cells can't have an 8 or a 9 in it, and that's just got me wondering about this column, because you could never put an 8 or a 9 on the arrow, because obviously if I put 8 there, for example, the minimum those two squares could be would be 1 and 2, and that lot adds up to 11, which is most certainly not a single digit total. So okay, yeah, so it's not quite perfect, but where does 8 and 9 go in column 2? Well, one position's here, and there's 2 more at the bottom. So there must be 2 of these 3 cells contain the digits 8 and 9, which is very nearly useful, but actually may not be useful. And we've got the same thing in column 8 as well. But here, it's slightly different digits, look. They're not quite aligned in the rows. They're nearly aligned in the rows, but not quite. I'm actually going to highlight this. This is quite interesting. So green cells, 2 of the 3 green cells in each column has an 8 and a 9. So I'm now wondering whether we can ask questions of these 10 cages. Or maybe it's just a better question is, can you have a 7? Because you can't put 7 on the arrows. So if 7 doesn't go in the 10 cage, you'd have a 7, 8, 9 triple in the column. So if 7 is in the 10 cage, it would have to be 1, 2, 7, which would lock 1 and 2 off these squares, which would make these squares a minimum of 3 and 4, but that could still be 1 or 2 bobbins. There's something here, isn't there? This feels too cleverly set up to not be important. Unfortunately, I obviously haven't plugged in my clever brain today because I can't quite see how to do it. It's the same on this side, presumably. It's just symmetrical. Yeah, we'd just lock the 1 and the 2 out of the... If there was a 7 in there, these would be 3 and 4. This could still be 1 or 2. I don't think this is quite right. So how do we do this then? This is so peculiar. It must be... The other thought I'm having now is, what if that's not the right question to ask about the 10 cage? Maybe the right question to ask is, does the 10 cage have a 1 in it? Because if it doesn't, the only way of making 10 in 3 cells is with 2, 3 and 5. Gosh, I had a complete brain freeze. 2, 3 and 5. Now that puts incredible pressure on the arrows. Because if this is 2, 3 and 5, those squares would have to be 1, 4 and 6, because you can't put a 7 on the arrow. And if they're 1, 4 and 6, the 2 in the same box would have to be the 1 and the 4, because you can't put a... Oh no, you could go 6, 1, couldn't you? You could go 6, 1 and 2. You just know that the 1 is definitely up here. But that's putting pressure on this square. So if you had 4, 1 or 6, 1, this has to be relatively low. So maybe it's something to do with... Oh no, I know what it's going to be. I think it's the rows and the columns, isn't it? Because if these two columns, I'm going mad, if these two columns are restricted, and they definitely are, especially regarding what has to go on the arrows, given whatever I put in the 10 cages, then that is having an effect in both instances on what can go into these squares. And the 16 and 14 are not that, well, they're not that low. But maybe they are low once you take into account what can go into those cells. So I'm actually tempted now to look at all of those cells together. So let's just do the maths. That's the best thing to do. So if we look, each column of the Sudoku will contain the digits 1 to 9. Add up the digits 1 to 9, you get 45. So this column adds to 45. That's another 45. That's another 45, and that's another 45, except obviously I'm double counting these sort of intersections in those sums. So the sum of the sort of crosshatch pattern that we're creating here is 180 minus these intersection points. Now, yeah, this is interesting. This is interesting. So it feels like, yeah, I just wonder, do I have to max this out in order to make it work? If I have to get to 180, how could we do that? How can I make this, well, I can make all of these 9, can't I? Let's just make them all 9 and see what that means, because that makes the sum easy. If these are all 9s, then along the arrows, we know that these are all 9s as well. Whoops, misclick down here. But new software helps me out. So we know that the yellow cells are also equal to 9. So in each box, we've got 9 plus 9. So we've got 18 from each box. 4 18s are 72. So I've got 72 from these cells. I've got to put these in. So I've got, that's easy. That's 50, look. So I've got 72 plus 50, which is 122. And I've got to get to 180. But I get to double count each of these squares. So 180 minus 122 is 58. And I'm double counting the squares. So 58 divided by 2 is 29. Ooh, that is very close to being perfect, isn't it? That is so close to being perfect. Because if I have to make these intersections add to 29, and that's I can't make these sums add to any more. So they have to add up to at least 29. But I can't use 9 in any of these positions because the 9 is ruled out. So if I have to make 29, I can repeat the 8, of course. Right, so I must have to repeat the 8. So I've got 2 8s. A 7 and a 6 is what that would imply. But I could have 2 8s. I could have 2 8s and 2 7s, couldn't I? So this is why I feel like this is close, but maybe no cigar. Because each of these would then get doubled. So this time I've got 30. 30 doubled is 60. 60 plus 122 is 182, which is too high. So there is a tiny degree of freedom about this if these are all 9s. But that does worry me a little bit. Does that mean I can switch it? If one of these is not 9, so for example, if I switch this 9 in here and then make this 8, does it still work or not? Because the 8 gets double whammied. Whereas beforehand this added up to 9 plus 9 is 18, this now only adds to 16, 8 plus 8. So I lose 2 there and I gain 1 here. So that still works. Bobbins. Ah, I thought at least we might get the positions of the 9s. Oh no, but maybe having a 9 here affects that one. Oh, that's very clever. That is very clever. Wow. This is going to break now. Oh, this is lovely. Right. So the question I'm asking, hopefully it's clear, but let me go through it again. I'm asking whether it's necessary in order to get this crosshatch pattern to add to 180. I'm asking whether it's absolutely necessary that the circled cells contain 9s. And I was concerned that it isn't necessary, because if they are all 9s, I can reach 182 by fiddling around with these digits rather than 180. So it feels like there's some latitude. But if we switch one of these cells into the middle of its box rather than the arrow, although we only lose 1 degree of freedom from the box itself, this 9, look, it's having an effect over here which is massive. Because now this cell, and whichever 9 is in the middle, is going to have this effect because of the beautiful geometry of the pattern. Yes, it always works. It always works. Whichever one of these you decide is going to be the 9, it's always going to hit an arrow circle. So let's look at this arrow circle anyway. This would become an 8. These squares therefore add to 8. So all of a sudden, from this adding up to 18, it now only adds up to 16. Moreover, this can't be a 9 in this case either. And it can't be an 8. So this would come down to 7 as a maximum. So you're losing you're losing at least 3 degrees of freedom in this box. And you've lost 1 degree of freedom by putting the 9 in the middle in the first place. And that definitely takes you below the 180 threshold. So this is all an incredibly long-winded way of saying that you've got to have 9s in the edges. You have got to have 9s in the arrow cells. But the problem we've got still to wrestle with is, although that feels like it's true, we don't... I've got to make these squares, or twice these squares, add up to 58. So we don't really know how to do that. We know what the digits are that are involved. There must be 2 8s involved. If there aren't 2 8s, I can't get there. Because the thing about these 4 squares is that you can't include 3 of 1 digit. However you put 3 of 1 digit into these squares, you will break the rules of Sudoku. So we can only repeat a digit twice. So if we go 8, 2 7s and a 6, for example, that is not enough. We need to get to 29 at least. In fact, exactly. So we've got to go double 8, 7 and 6, but we don't know which way round the 8s go. So one way of thinking about this is that there is an X-swing on 8s. That is one way we can think about it. So there's either an 8 here in these 2 cells in the finished solution, or here. Now that puts pressure on the 16 cage. Yeah, that's lovely. Oh, that's absolutely lovely. The X-swing on 8s. So we know that the 8s are either here and here, or here and here. So there cannot be an 8 in this 16 cage. Now if there can't be an 8 in the 16 cage, and there can't be a 9 in the 16 cage, can there not be a 7? If there's no 7, this would be 4, 5, 6, which only adds up to 15. So this doesn't work. So there is a 7 in here. Now once there's a 7 in the 16 cage, it sees those 2 possible 7s there and makes these an 8-6 pair, which means I now need these 2 to be a 7-8 pair in order to get up to 29. And now I still don't know which way round the 8s go, but we feel that feels like enormous progress. 7. Oh, you can't put 6 in here now either. So this, the 16 cage now is 7. It is 754. That's the only way you can do it. Which means the remaining cells are 1, 2, and 3 in row 2. And that doesn't seem to help. Oh, but look. Yeah, look. The 14 cage down here now can't contain 7, 8, or 9. So it must have a 6 in it, otherwise you can't get up to 14. It must be 653. That's the only way you can make the total work. So now we get some more numbers on arrows. 1, 2, and 4 this time. Okay. I don't quite know how to do this in terms of... What are we learning from these? So we've restricted the values of some of the arrow cells. Oh, this is beautiful. I mean, this is just a beautiful, beautiful puzzle. Let's come back to the question I asked about 20 minutes ago, which is where is the 7 in these columns? And the answer is I still haven't got a clue. I do not know. But I do know that one of these cells here in row 8 is not a 7. And whichever one of these is not a 7, I've then got incredible problems putting the 7 in that column. So imagine this was an 8. Where do I put the 7 in the column? I can't put it on an arrow. So in the column where the 8 lives, the 10 cage is a 1, 2, 7. So one of these is a 1, 2, 7 triple. Now there might be a way we can tell which one of those. Is there a way we can tell which of these is 1, 2, 7? The answer feels like it's blowing in the wind. I do not see immediately how to tell that. 1, 2, 7. Yeah, no, although I say that. 2, 8, 2, 7. This is extraordinary, isn't it? I think it's going to be these digits. Is it the fact there's a 4 in here that matters? Or there could be a 4 in here, and there's only a 3 in there. I'm not sure. Let's just have a look at the 9 totals. So in this given this can be 1, 2, or 3, this square here can be 4, 5, or 6. In fact, it must be in order to get up to 9. Now this square down here, that can be 6 still. That can't be 4 because that would imply these were a 1, 4 pair. And it can't be 5 because you can't put 1, 3 here. So this is either 3 or 6. That's so strange that there's such a discrepancy between these two digits as a result of the one switch in the options being 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4. 6, 1, 2, 7, 2, 7, 8, 6, 3. Yeah, got it. Look at column 2. Now, if this triple, remember, we know one of these 10 cages contains 1, 2, and 7. If it's this one, where do you put the 4 and the 5 in the column? Everything we've got here is not 4 and 5. If these are 1, 2, and 7, the 4 and the 5 have to go on the arrow, which means this square would have to be a 0. Well, it can't be a 0, so this can't be a 1, 2, 7. So this is a 1, 2, 7, which means this square is an 8, this square is a 7, that's a 6, that's an 8, that's not 6 anymore. Now, surely that is very useful. He says as he tries to work out why it's useful. Yeah, okay, these are 3, 4, and 5. So this can't be 4 anymore, look, because given the option, if we go 3, 5 there, that would add to 12, which most certainly is not 9. So the 4 must be over there. Lovely, because that means if one of these two squares is a 4, this cannot be a 6. So this is a 3. That's not 3 anymore. This must be a 3, 2, 4 pair in order to equal 9. That resolves that this one is a 1. That's not 1 anymore. 3. 3 in this column can only go there. That means in order for this 9 to work, this has got to be 5, 4. This must be a 2, 3 pair to make 9. It's going round the grid, isn't it? It is. This is now a 1. We can't make this 3 and 5 because of the 3 here. So this is 2 and 6. Okay, well, we don't know which order that's in. But look, this column is now done apart from 1, 4, and 5, which must go in the 10 cage. Let's get rid of the corner pencil marks here. Let's pause for a moment. 9s by Sudoku, actually. Look at... Oh, I see. I could have seen this earlier as well, but that's very... Well, it's very beautiful again. I don't quite know how to use it, but 9s are locked into one of those two squares in box 4. But you can see exactly the same happens in box 2. But if this was a 9, you can't repeat the 9 in the cage. So if this is a 9, that would be a 9. And this goes right round the grid. It's very much actually in line with the theme, isn't it? The Encaged 9. There is definitely an Encaged 9, not only here, but in each of these cages there is one 9. And it's either disposed like this, or they're disposed like that. Can't read some of these totals. Let's just check what they are. 16 there, 20 there, 18 there. So this is the lowest. So this square has to be 6 or lower. So this square has to be 6 or lower. Let's look at that. So this is 6 or lower. Now, it could be 6. If it's not 6... Well, it is 6, because this square here sees 1, it sees 2, it sees 3, it sees 4, it sees 5. So this is only 6. This is now 169, there's a 1 there, so we get some digits there. The 9, we know where the 9 goes, so we now can send this round the grid, scuttling around. There we go, all of the 9s get fixed. That's not 6 anymore. 6 is in one of these two cells. And probably we now need to focus on these, more of these arrows coming into the cages. Let's look at, well, we can look at this one or this one, I think. Let's look at this one. 2, 4, 6, 7. 2, 4, 7, because 6 is impossible. So this is 2, 4, or 7. So this is 2, 4, or 7. It's in an 18 cage. So these two add up to... so these two add up to 9. Now look, if this is 2 or 7, this is 2 or 7, which it can't be because of the 10 cage. So this is 4, this is 5, that's 4. It's stunning, isn't it? It is really, really stunning setting, this. This square's a 1 by Sudoku, that one there. Because of the 4-5 looking at it. That's not 1 anymore. Let's carry on round. Oh, the 20 cage is unlikely to be as restricted as the 18, but let's just check this one because we've got more digits in the column. We've got 1, 5, 7, and 8. So this is just 7 or 8, is it? Is that right? Let's just double check that. 1, 5, 7, 8. Yeah, I think it is. So this is only 7 or 8, but we know this domino has to add to 11 given the 9 in the 20 cage. And you can't, so this can't be 7, or this would be 4, and the 4 would clash. So this is 8, this is 8, this is 3. That's not 3 anymore. Okay. Can't quite see what we can do with that, but we know these two add up to 9. 3, 4, 5, 7. So this square by Sudoku is 5 or 7. So this is 5 or 7. If it's 5, that would become a 4, and that 4 would clash. So this is 7 this time. So each of these totals has been selected in conjunction with these short arrows to resolve. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, the 2 fixes the 2 and the 4. Does that do something? Yeah, that places a 4 in the top of the grid by Sudoku. This 2-7 pair sees that cell, so that's got to be a 1. 1 goes here by Sudoku now. In fact, probably we've done all the 1s, have we? No, we get a 1 here. Which ones have we not done? I've not done a 1 in this box. Must be in one of those 2 cells. There as well. Probably means I can't resolve the 1s yet. This can't be a 4. This can't be a 7. This row has already got lots of digits in it. We need 2, 7, and 8 to finish it. That's got to be an 8, therefore. That means this is an 8 by Sudoku. This is an 8 by Sudoku. We must be nearly able to do all the 8s. Nearly. Not quite. 8's in one of those squares, and 8's in one of these squares, I think. These squares were 2 and 7, which doesn't seem to be resolved. Adjust glasses. Think again. 3, 4, 5, 6 into this row. So this is a 3 or a 5. That's a 3 or a 6. And that is 3, 4, or 6. Not sure if that's useful. It doesn't maybe appear useful. Sudoku on 4 is useful because it's... Yeah, look, there's a 4-8 pair here, I think. 4 seems to be locked into the same cells as the 8, which means this square must be 2... bother. It must be 2 or 7. It doesn't resolve. 2, 5, 6, 7 in the column. But this square can't be 5 or 7, so this is 2 or 6. That gives us a 2-6 pair there, which might mean this square is restricted, actually. Let's check this one. So what can, if we look at the column, this can be 2, 3, 4, 5, or 8. So let's fully pencil mark it so we don't make a mistake. Now it can't be 4 or 5 because of the 4 and the 5 there. It can't be 3. There's a 3 in the box. Now why can't it... And it can't be 2 because of the 2-6 pair. So this is 8. That gives us an 8 here. It gives me a 4 here. That fixes the 5, the 7. Oops, the 5, the 7, and the 4. That fixes the 2 and the 7 into those 2 squares. That makes that one a 6. That's a 6. That's a 2. Still got to put 2 and a 1 in that box, which we can now do. These squares now are 5 and 7, which we can do. Nice. Just Sudoku. That's got to be a 3 by Sudoku. That's got to be a something, a 5. And 7, look, this 7 seeing that square. I've still got to put a 7 in this box, so it goes there. That's not a 4. Don't scan like that, Simon. It is not the path to success. That's a 5. This column still needs 2 and 3 into this square. There's a 2, 7 pair in the box though, so we can go 3, 2, 3. This should be a 4, 6 pair. Of course, that's not resolved. No, it's not, is it? Okay. 2, 3 and 7 into this line. So this is a 3. That fixes the 5. That fixes the 5 and the 4. The 4 and the 6. It gives me a 3 here. So in this box over here, you can see we need 6 and 7, but there's a 6 there. So we go 6, 7, 7, 2. And this square looks like it should be a 2, 3, 6, 5, I think. Looks like I filled in all the digits. I click tick. Yes, that's how to solve. Another gem of a Sudoku from Joseph. Loved it. That one is elegance personified, isn't it? It really is. The whole trick with the arrows interacting with the cages is extremely clever. There may have been a better way of me explaining the beginning there. I'm not sure. Be interested. I always enjoy the comments, so do leave me a comment, especially if it's a nice one. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.